Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Morning Briefing here with Friedman Adventures. It's Father's Day, and it's an absolutely gorgeous day here in Surfside, California. Hey, it's great to be with you all. Happy Father's Day to all you dads. This is such an important day to recognize dads and the positive influence they can have on their kids. I mean, this is when we separate the truly non-important kinds of things in life to the really important things. And I'm talking about the obligations you have to your kids as a father, not only to provide the material things, and that's super important, as you all know, but also to provide the emotional, spiritual, to motivate your kids, to make sure they're on the right path, to take them out fishing and show them the great outdoors. These are all part of being a really good dad. And I want to take a moment right up front to say hi to all you dads, salute you all for the great stuff you do for your kids and for other kids, and just thank you all for your great support here on this beautiful Father's Day morning. It's gorgeous. I mean, it's not cold at all. There's no wind here on the beach this morning. That ocean looks absolutely perfect. There's been a few of those white barracuda birds picking around here, so you got the feeling that maybe there's a few grunion still hanging around after last night. Incidentally, speaking of grunion, I poked my nose out here, and I literally mean poked my nose out. I didn't give it any effort at all. I stood up a little bit higher, walked out here, looked, didn't see any grunion, and then rapidly went back to bed. So that doesn't mean there wasn't a grunion run last night. It just means that I was pretty lazy last night, didn't get down here and search it out. So another grunion run tonight. We'll see what happens with that. I'll cover that a little bit later in the report. But first of all, it's time to talk bluefin tuna, and we'll start as we normally do, just cross the border about 60 miles down out of Ensenada, where the pongueros down there. Pongero is a Spanish word. Guys that run pongas, which are smaller, like skiffs, would be the English translation. And some of those guys like Arnie down there, Arnie Sport Fishing, many other guys have had a little bit slower fishing on this bluefin. Seeing it, there's a lot of it around, but not biting as well. Having said that, there's still some scores coming on the Mad Max. Most of those guys down there are trolling around with Mad Max lures, and that has become the hot deal in Ensenada. In fact, if you're going down there, in addition to your tip to the guys down there, they can really use that now as always, but if you dropped off a couple of Mad Max lures, they're liable to give you a big kiss. So, I mean, those things are really valuable. They cost a lot more down there. I think you can grab them for like 40 bucks over at Island Fishing Tackle. Pretty sure that's right. And then you cross the border in Ensenada there. Those guys down there are paying 80 bucks. So that's something you could leave with the guys, and they would deeply, deeply appreciate it. All right, same thing up there in San Diego. Now, I'd be pushing the panic button. Not really, but I'd be way more panicked if we weren't catching much fish at all, which is exactly what's going on right now. Tough scores down there in San Diego. I'd be pushing it if we were not seeing fish, but that's just not the case. We're seeing copious amounts of bluefin tuna. I mean, there's fish everywhere. You're seeing them, and they just don't want to bite. I mean, they have lockjaw. I don't know if it's an early Father's Day vacation. I don't know whether it's moon phase. It's certainly not the weather. There's been some breeze, but not bad at all. But these things have been off the bite, not biting at night, not biting in the daytime, just really, really poor. So we see this in offshore fishing all the time. I mean, bluefin, albacore, not so much with yellowfin. Yellowfin are pretty consistent biters, but they'll get off the bite also once in a while. And we can speculate and guess as to why they're off the bite, but the point is that they are. And the point is also that we're seeing a lot of fish down there in the San Diego region, down the Baja Coast. Mark Paisano Jr., I mentioned to you on the Amigo about 4 days ago, saw giant schools of bluefin off of Pyramid Head at San Clemente Island, and then the next day it was gone. So apparently it is racing around a lot, moving around a lot, maybe looking to see if there's any McDonald's open, and by that I mean any bait that they could jump on and hang out for a while. Conditions good, water temperature good, water clarity good. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But scores out of San Diego have been very poor here recently, and they are continuing that way. Now, you still have got to go fully prepared and go with a great deal of optimism, because we're seeing that fish. And one of these days that light switch is going to go on. Could be today. I'm hoping it's today for Father's Day. What a better day to see it turn on. So make sure you're going properly tackled up. That means at least 2 rods, a 40-pound outfit. You want some fluorocarbon. We like the Opsin fluorocarbon, www.opsinusa.com. You definitely want to put FA in at checkout. You'll get a free gift and a note from Greg, FA, Friedman Adventures. Definitely want to have that 40-pound stick. Don't want to leave the 80 to 100-pound outfit at home with a 2-speed reel, because there are a lot of jumbos being seen. 125 to 200 plus pound fish. Mark saw those off Pyramid Head. They hooked too, and they were under tackled and got their clocks clean. And that's what we're seeing for most of the boats down there in San Diego. So definitely want to continue to bring that heavy tackle assortment of lures. You want to have knife jigs or zacanas or flat falls, whatever it is, and in a variety of sizes also. You know, from 100 to 300 grams will do you just right. So we'll keep our eyes on this. Hopefully we're going to see this fish turn on. There's plenty of it around, plenty of it to go around, but it is just off the bite right now, and hopefully Father's Day it'll get going again. All right, I need to talk to you a little bit about Albacore, because Tommy Holland, Captain Tommy Holland, pours over the information. He's on the radio. He's talking to guys in the commercial fleet, and Tommy firmly believes those Albacore are going to get in here. He says if it's going to happen, it'll be in the next 30 days. If we don't see it, then the clock is ticking, and perhaps we're not going to see Albacore this year. Bob Osborne, our guy who pours over also stats and looks at water temps and compares them to great Albacore years like 2008, compares them to last year. That highway that those Albacore like to travel on is wide open. It doesn't appear, there's a little bit of a plume, not a plume, but a little bit of warm water that is pushing up into the highway where the Albacore would come into the West Coast, but way more improved over last year, and hopefully those albies are swimming in here. A lot of guys still on that bluefin tuna. Some people think if they got out to the west, they might even find some right now, but so far, not a lot. Tommy also observes that there is some really nice water edges, favorable water edges. Tommy looked at it and said, I've caught Albacore many years in the past in that kind of water. So that all bodes well, and high hopes that this thing is going to click and get into gear one of these days. I know a lot of you think I'm nuts. I know a lot of you think I'm crazy. This is the second year we've called for Albacore. Last year was a bust for us. One Albacore on the new Loan. When that fish was caught, man, I was like, here it goes. It's really going to start biting. Never manifested itself at all. Fish have been taken on the urban bank. The pikey, J.J. Garrettson, has been catching from 0 to 50 Albacore in that neck of the woods. That's 300 miles from San Diego. So when you normally see some fish on the urban bank, we normally get them in here, whether it's off the Baja coast or down there off San Diego, or even up this way we could see fish. We'll continue to monitor that for you very, very closely. All right, let's talk islands now. Todos Santos Islands, more and more yellowtail showing up there off Ensenada. Not a ton, most guys driving by it, not a whole lot being taken. A lot of barracuda though at the Todos Santos Islands, and we're seeing barracuda up and down the coast. I'll be talking about that in a moment. Hopefully that's going to get on the bite. Also, we move you up to the famed Coronado Islands, where many of the San Diego boats have been driving by it, trying to get this bluefin tuna. Some of the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. boats are switching over to the islands until the bluefin starts biting. One of them, the Malahini, yesterday with our good friend Bill Wilkerson, had 3 yellowtail out there, some rockfish and bass. There's been a few hits on the yellows. The Mission Bell the other day with Sean Hardigan had over 20 yellows at the Coronado Islands, and there was a few hits for private guys yesterday and some other guys that were decent. So there are some yellows there. Hopefully they're going to get on the bite. You would think that would start to build. I'll remind you that when you're within 12 miles of Mexican land territory, you do need a passport. So we'll see if that offshore stuff switches back on again. Everybody's going to leave those islands and head out. Fluorocarbon, definitely a must when you're fishing yellows that are a little bit finicky right now. 25, 30-pound flora will work really, really well for you all. All right, let's move up to San Clemente Island. We worked that place over thoroughly the other day on the Amigo. A lot of sea lions, they're a pain in the neck. And then as we were coming in, we encountered weather once again. This wind is really a nuisance this year. It has really been persistent, and it seems to manifest itself on the weekends, which is just poor timing for guys trying to get out and fish that island. Not too bad, windy conditions at Clemente, and nothing wide open. But on the Freedom, they did have 10 halibut. Nothing huge, but 10 halibut is 10 halibut. They released another 4 fish. Tina Valentine telling me that things are looking better over there. They also had some yellowtail, a few yellows over there. Nice grade. It's a mix in terms of the grade. On the Amigo the other day, we had all small yellowtail. There's a mix in terms of that. The Amigo had 8 yellowtail, some small ones, and then some nice 15 to 20 pound stuff over there. So a little bit of a sign of life at Clemente, and hopefully with the wind starting to reduce, we're going to have a really nice weather scenario actually tomorrow in the morning hours, and it looks like for most of the rest of the week it'll be good. There's going to be some wind also if the forecast is correct, but for the most part it's starting to settle down a little bit. Hopefully it will get going. You're fishing at Clemente, dropper loop for those halibut. You can fish a reverse dropper loop. Ask your crew member, they'll help you tie that up. If you want to catch a big sheep's head or something, sometimes you can fish the dropper loop and do quite well. And also sliding egg sinker type of rig, like a 1/4 ounce. Some of those areas have been biting pretty well on the sardine and the anchovy. Calico bass fishing, pretty darn good. Santa Barbara Island, San Nicolas Island, let's group those together and say that it's been very hit and miss. We worked Nicholas really hard the other day on the Amigo for no white sea bass and no signal of it. There has been some boats. The Endeavor had 4 out there about 5 days ago, with Tucker McCombs out of Ventura Sport Fishing, but it's been pretty tough for the most part up there in that area. Nicholas and Santa Barbara Island. Both those venues, however, can turn on, and some private guys continue to make catches out there. They're able to fish some areas that some of the sport boats can't get on, and they're there for the whole day, and sometimes they get in the right zone at the right time and come up with a good score of sea bass or halibut. So we'll watch it very closely. Channel Islands up there around Rosa and other areas like that. Man, it's been really good when you have some good weather. And unfortunately, we don't have that right now. We've got very poor weather. In fact, it forced many of the boats to stay on the beach yesterday. Today, still windy up there. Most of the boats are out, however. Some are trying to fish that zone. We'll see if they come up with any sea bass. Again, dropper loop, but a lot of run and gun type fishing up there also, where they go from school to school and hammer out some really excellent catches. Fluorocarbon, a must, 30 to 40 pound, 30 probably best. Squid supply has been hit and miss up there also. We'll keep our eyes on it. Hopefully they're going to get some fish, but they've been cursed by wind all year long. And once again, we're dealing with some of that here today. Remember, dropper looping and that sliding egg sinker rig, and you're golden up there in the Channel Islands. I will tell you that. We'll just hope that that wind gets out of the picture. Let me take you up and down the coast now, starting down in San Diego, where there was some pretty good bass fishing. The Premier had like 130 bass yesterday afternoon. They had 50 in the morning. Water warmed up, cleaned up down there, looked much better, and the calicos responded. Of course, you know, light line and a good hot bait, you can't beat us. A little sliding egg sinker with an anchovy or a sardine and some 20-pound fluoro, 15-pound fluoro really will help you a great deal. But taking the time to choose that good hot bait makes all the difference in the world when you're calico bass fishing. So that looked pretty darn good. Moving up, Dana Point area, there's been some better bass fishing. And all of these areas, I should have jumped across the border and told you that University Point and some of that Baja coastline, a lot of barracuda. Seen a lot of that. Better bass fishing up there on Dana, seeing more and more barracuda. You'd think that that stuff would really turn on and rip. There's been some really good scores. The Pride had some big barracuda the other day. Tom Durer out on the Judith Ann fishing up around Point Furman and up that way. Lots of nice barracuda and wide open calico bass fishing. So hopefully that's going to get headed in the right direction. I did skip over Catalina Island. I'll come back to the coast in a moment. tell you, the weekend boat pressure really kind of pushed that bite down. A few yellows, lots of short calico bass, a few legal calico bass, and a couple of halibut, sea bass here and there, but pretty slow for the most part. You know, you can keep busy with the barracuda and the bass, but a lot of it were short fish yesterday. Back to the coast, right up here in the San Pedro, Long Beach area. Not much on the bass. I mean, there's been some decent bass fishing, especially on the smaller boats like the Judith Ann. Tom's been doing really well there out of 22nd Street Landing. Bigger boats had a little bit more trouble, a lot more pressure, a lot more boats, and that always makes it difficult. But they have had sculpins saving their lives all year long, and they're able to, whether the bass bites or the barracuda bites, find some sculpin. Incidentally, speaking of barracuda, seeing a lot of it here on the local scene. So that looks good. And bouncing you up to the Channel Islands, Cody Rogers on the Island Spirit had some really excellent signal on barracuda and bass, sand bass, and calico bass along the coast. He's going to have really gorgeous weather on Tuesday, and after that, it looks really good. Island Spirit out of Ventura Sport Fishing, and also they've got the half-day boat. The old Matt Walsh is now the California. You can give them a call at Ventura at 805-676-3474 and jump on a local trip up there. They're going to have some really gorgeous weather coming up here very soon. Looking up the beach, my surf fishing guys are off here on this beautiful Father's Day morning. All right, let's talk surf. We have a grunion run. There's more grunion moving into the beaches tonight. So that is certainly going to be very, very interesting, because that grunion acts as a magnet that brings all kinds of great predators to the beaches. A lot of sharks and rays, but also halibut and yellowfin, croaker, all those species will move in here. Sometimes they get very full on the moon, or on the grunion run, so sometimes they're not eager to bite, but we'll keep our eyes on it, see how it goes. More and more yellowfin, croaker. Down there in Bolsa Chica, there's been some good yellowfin croaker fishing, a few spotfin croaker, halibut on the Lucky Crafts. Here in Surfside, we've had pretty slow fishing here recently, so I'll give it a try maybe tomorrow, although the tides are a little bit screwy right now. Afternoon seems to be a better time. However, you can catch corvina, and that is one thing that's around. The water temp along the beaches is pretty warm right now, so that bodes well for corvina, fishing a trout rod, sight fishing. You see them before you catch them. It's pretty darn fun, no question about it. Santa Monica Bay, like that Topaz Rock Jetty, and around the Redondo Pier, there's been some decent catches of corvina up there in that neck of the woods. Somebody said you were saying corvina the whole time, and I do that, so forgive me. Corby, Bay, de Burro, corvina. There's been some of that up and down the coast, biting pretty good on that lighter tackle, 6 to 8 pound, and a little sliding egg with a sand crab, sandworm, something like that. All right, everybody, our next trips, I think we got 2 openings. July the 5th on board the Pride. It's a 2-day trip out of 22nd Street Landing. Then July the 22nd, we'll be on board the Malahini with Bill Wilkerson. Who knows what we'll be doing? We've been prowling offshore a lot. You would think that would come together. Remember, we had that south swell pushing some warm water into San Diego, and actually saw some early season yellowfin tuna here recently. Hopefully, that warmer water that's pushing up will push up Dorado and yellowfin, some of those tropical and subtropical species. Hopefully, it'll push them up the beach, and we'll see more and more of that move in, so that when the bluefin pull this nonsense that they're pulling right now, we have something else to catch. And again, Albacore, maybe offshore. That's probably where they would show up. They're not going to show up in that warm water. When Tommy talks about favorable water edges, he's talking about colder water bumping up against the kind of water, or warmer water bumping up against the kind of water that Albacore like. They bump into that colder or warmer water, and then they bounce back into what they like, what's comfortable for them. 63-degree water is perfect for Albacore, and then they slide into the West Coast. At least that's how it's supposed to go. All right, so you want charter information, you can get it. Send me a text here on Father's Day, and I'll send you our charter list for the rest of the season. One more trip on the Amigo. That's going to be a lot of fun. 657-227-6459, and I will send you the list. All right, everybody, wishing you all a wonderful Father's Day. Hope you get time to spend with the kids, your wife, your mom, your dad, whatever it is. Make it a special one. And remember, this is one of those super important jobs in life. Way more important than anything else you can do. Father, being a good mom, all of those things mean a lot. Take care, my friends. Always good to be with you. Have a happy Father's Day. And we'll see you back here with another morning briefing tomorrow morning.